I'm Sylvia from Climate Kick, working within the P2R Pathway to Resilience program with all the different regions that are sitting with us and are here with us today as well. I'm happy to welcome you to the second innovation practice group of this IPGs Week 2, which is going to focus on water management. We're going to have another region presenting today. We had one this morning. We're going to have one today, this afternoon, and many others in the following days. But before starting and before introducing you the topic, I just would like to guide you through a few technical aspects that are going to be supporting us through the session of today. The first thing is about the use of the audio. So I will ask you to please keep your microphone off while we're presenting, but also to turn it on if you would like to raise your question, if you would like to ask anything to the speaker, or if you would like just to join us in the conversation. I will also like to invite you all to turn on the camera whenever it's possible. It's always nice to speak to people rather than speaking to a black screen with a white name appearing on it. And then a few engaging tools in case you're not familiar with Zoom. You have the possibility to raise your hand in case you have any question, to use the chat for the question, and also to rename yourself. That will be great so we can see from where each other comes from. So if you go on your screen, there's where is your image, so there's a 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, you have the possibility to rename yourself and put your name, and the regions or the location where you're coming from. That will be really nice. On top of it, I'm sharing with you some technicalities of today's session. Today is the second session of the Innovation Practice Groups. We had a first week in March, if I'm not wrong. We're having the second week now in June. Every week, what we're trying to do is to use always the same tool to collect all the different things that are shared during the conversation, the presentation from the speaker, any particular input or resources that may be relevant regarding the topic of the Innovation Practice Group. So now there's a link in the chat that is bringing you to this mirror board. You will see on the top part, there's a few calendar where you can find the registration link for the upcoming days for the different innovation practice group. You will have the session content where we're sharing all the input of what we're doing today. You have the wall of resources where you can find report papers, tools, original case studies that may be relevant for the topic of the session. And at the very bottom part, you can find the materials from all the different IPG sessions. So where you can find the presentation, for example, from the speakers. We're going to keep using this one for the upcoming session happening later in the year. So just save the link if you would like to stay up to date, and you will receive more information on the go. So before starting, I'm happy also to introduce you the agenda of today. We're going to have a 1.5 hour session together here. We're now in the welcome and check-in. I'm going to pass the floor for the check-in to a colleague of ours. So we're going to have a few people jumping in to talk today. After the check-in, we're going to have a quick introduction of what are the Innovation Practice Group and what are we going to talk today on the water management aspect. We're going to have a presentation from one of the regions that are working with Pathway to Resilience, and then we're going to follow the presentation from a few comments and input from an expert. Following this, we were supposed to have breakout discussion, but we decided to stay in plenary to have a bit more of an open discussion with all of you. We have a few questions that will guide us through the discussion, and the idea is just to remain well connected with the topic of today. At the end, we're going to wrap up. We're going to have a few takeaways, and we're going to have a quick feedback survey. We're going to ask you to fill in just to provide us what is going to be your overview about how the session went today. So having said that, I'm happy to pass the floor to Anka, colleagues from the Red Cross Climate Center that are going to guide us to the check-in of today. Anka, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Great to have you here. We have thought of a few questions now to get us in the mood of the topic. So once the question shows on the screen, I'll give you a very little time, so around half a minute, to type in the answer in the chat. So type in the answer, keep your answer brief, maybe a few words after that, and don't press enter, and only press enter when I tell you go. And then we will have a little chat shower with all the answers coming in. I'll read out some, like the ones you agree with. And yeah, let's see the question, Sylvia. So the first question is, where are you joining from? And what's the one major water or ecosystem related challenge in your region? So I'd like to ask everyone to type the answer in the chat. I'll give you 30 seconds. And when I ask you to do so, please press enter so we can see who's joining us from where and what's a major ecosystem related challenge you have in your region. I'll give you about 10 more seconds. Okay, could you please now send your answers in the chat? We have Netherlands. Major ecosystem related challenge is the Doland region is hyperturbidity. We have someone from Cyprus, Croatia, extreme dry season, Natural Park Kutovo Blato, which is our presenters, Arille, and we've got the issues of floods in France. Thank you, everyone. Can we pass to the next question? Now, for the next question, could you please think of a place near you live where water flows naturally? So either a river, a spring, a stream, a wetland, and think what changes you've observed in recent years or decades, depends how old you are. And once you think of this, please put it in the chat. And once I give you the sign, press enter. Okay, a few more seconds of typing, and then I'll ask you to paste. Okay, and please give me your answers to this ecosystem-related question. We have an answer from Nicola on low water or even no water in dry season, which of course results in lower biodiversity. River, the water quality has been changing quite a lot along the years. All the rivers in Cyprus are converted to dams. That is a big problem, and I think we will discuss aspects of hydro energy and how to balance within this session as well. River, less precipitation, changes in precipitation patterns. Yes, I think across Europe and the world, we can notice this. Thank you. And can we see the last question, please? The last is complete the sentence. Healthy wetlands should be able to, and then please put a few words to finish the sentence on what healthy wetlands should be able to do or provide. And I'll give you 30 seconds for that as well. Okay, please paste your answers into the chat. Increase climate resilience. Sufficient amount of water during the dry season. Healthy wetlands should be able to store excess water through locally throughout the year. So similar to increased climate resilience. Adapt to the climate environment. Have a life during a whole year. Store and filter water. Continue their natural development. Healthy habitat for species and people. All lovely answers. Thank you, everyone. I hope this has set you in the mood for the topic of today. And also, I wanted to tell you that we will have an artist look back on this recording. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us today, but after this session, she will look at the presentation, look at our discussions, and create outputs from them. Here are two examples. One is from a session we had that has to do with behavioral change, showing how scary behavioral change can be. And the second is on data, but also perceptions on data, depending on your local kind of context. So Betche, the artist, will develop some cartoons based on this session, and we'll then send them over to you when they're ready towards the end of the month. Thank you. And I'm going to pass over to Valeria now to tell us a bit about these innovation practice groups.
Yes, thank you, Anka. So for those that don't know me, nice to meet you. My name is Valeria Di Fante, and I work for Deltares. So that's why I'm joining here today. Some of you might have seen me before. I'm going to give a quick introduction to what we're doing today, very briefly. So in general, many of you might already be familiar with this, but as you know, this is part of the IPG, so Innovation Practice Groups. And the group you're joining right now is specifically the Water Management Innovation Practice Group. And the idea of the IPGs is really to offer regions in P2R, but also broader set of stakeholders and experts a place and a moment where they can learn, when you can learn and share knowledge within this group. And in a way that is really guided by what your local and regional challenges and needs are. In a way that you can also refine ideas, maybe test some of your ideas, share some of the challenges that you've been encountering with other regions that are interested in, or regional experts and stakeholders that are interested in similar topics. And in this specific IPG case, all around water management. And as you know, we already had 1 week of IPG sessions, and what we're doing today is part of the first day, actually, of the second IPG week. And there's going to be many other IPGs throughout the rest of the week, but we will share a bit more of the rest of the calendar at the end of the session today. So as I was saying, our IPG is the water management one. So I'm going to introduce briefly what is today's session really about. You've already had a hint, of course, from the questions that you were asking at the beginning. But basically today, we're really going to start with the example of the Hutovo Blato Park, which is a karst wetland park in Eastern Herzegovina. Next slide. So the majority of the presentation is going to come from Zoran Mateliak, who is also the coordinator of Pathways to Resilience for his region, and is really going to share all the ins and outs of what the challenges, but also the opportunities that are happening throughout the Hutovo Blato Park. That has all the work that has been done in the last years, but also the work that they're working on through Pathways to Resilience. So we're first going to have the presentation from Zoran, and then after that, there will be a moment to actually have a discussion around what you just heard. And really to kick in the discussion, we have asked Richard Maranissen, who is a postdoctoral researcher at Deltares, to maybe just start a bit the discussion, give his impression of what he just heard, and then from that to really start the conversation with the rest of you. So really feel free when we get to the discussion to share a lot, and let's try to have a conversation together around what resonates with you from the presentation. So I think after this, I think it's really time for Zoran's presentation. So I would say let's just start with that. Zoran, I give you the floor.
Yeah. So in here we have a photo with a panoramic view from the highest peak overlooking Hutovo Blato. This photo captures the two most important areas of the nature park. On the left, it is the artificial Svitava reservoir managed by Chaplina Pumping Hydropower Station, while on the right lies the most ecologically valuable section of whole park, which is Derane Depression. When we talk about protecting and conserving Hutovo Blato, we are essentially focusing on this Derane Depression on the right side, because it's the only part that can realistically be restored. Looking at the photo, the degradation isn't immediately visible, nor are the causes obvious. To understand how this ecosystem was damaged, and more importantly, what can be done to save the last remaining Adriatic coast wetlands, we first need to explain the key characteristic of the karst landscape. So this is one cross section of the karst landscape, and fundamental aspect of protecting wetlands in such a area is understanding that the continuous interaction between surface and underground waters. It took million years for plants and animals to adapt to this type of ecosystem, which is actually not quite favorable for us, for humans, because living in a karst landscape can be very challenging and difficult for humans, because it means winter floods and summer droughts. So people live under constant weather pressure. That's why in 1960s, then Yugoslavia decided to build infrastructure that would stop water from disappearing underground, instead storing it on a surface, making it usable for both agriculture and electricity production. Or as engineer would say, and I'm also hydrotechnical engineer, so I understand this logic, which is to create reservoirs that prevent winter flooding, while boosting water availability in the summer, enabling year-round water use. This is the natural water regime of Eastern Herzegovina. It is very important to emphasize that this is a region with a high rainfall, receiving over 1,500 millimeters annually. The karst fields are marked in a green, and they basically serve as water collectors. These are natural accumulations, and then water drains down to the lower points. There are numbers, you can see numbers on these green fields, and these numbers are actually represent elevation. So above, so we see that Katačko polje, for example, lies over 900 meters above sea level, while Hutovo blato is only 1 meter above sea level. So that's why this steep terrain was actually fantastic for development of hydropower. Therefore, in Yugoslavia at that time, it was decided to artificially accumulate these waters and then divert them through the tunnels on hydropower turbines. This intervention brought significant social benefits. And that time, only potential negative impacts were not even considered. When we evaluate this initiative in the context of what existed 60 years ago, it's hard to find a fault. However, it's completely unacceptable to apply the same logic today as we used 60 years ago. And yet this is exactly what is happening. And this is the main cause of all problems we are facing in this region. On this slide, a large circle marks the area of Upper Horizons project, which is basically upgrading the existing hydropower project and hydropower system on river Trebišnica. Just to mention, river Trebišnica is the used to be the largest sinking river in Europe. So in fact, 90% of Hutovo Blato's water comes from two sources: the sinking of Trebišnica River and sinking of Bregava River. So which is a bit north, and you can see these dots are basically the part of the river that sinks every year. Basically, so Hutovo Blato is fed by over 70 springs and that water to these springs comes from draining of these karst fields and sinking of these two rivers in a natural, I'm talking just about natural state. This unique ecosystem has allowed, for example, to endemic trout to survive in Hutovo Blato, and we know that trout are species that typically can't survive in the wetlands, but thrive here in Hutovo Blato because the spring water holds a steady temperature around 11 degrees year-round, matching the temperature of the bedrock from which it flows. To better understand how this system functions, we can let's see these two photos. The top one shows Popovo Polje in its natural state, and the bottom show the same spot today. As you saw earlier, Popovo Polje is essential for natural is essentially natural reservoir of the Trebišnica River. In winter, that river in natural state carries over 1,000 cubic meters of water per second, but its channel can only handle 45 cubic meters per second. So water overflows, flooding Popovo Polje and creating natural accumulation. That's what would happen every year for over 250 days annually. So it would be lake, while drought season would last for 100 days, and in 100 days you would have agriculture in these fields. These floods creates a natural lake, and this lake is basically drained through sinkholes of Popovo Polje, and on these photos are some characteristical sinkholes of Popovo Polje. The total capacity of these sinkholes is around 300 cubic meters per second, so which is far below the incoming flow, and that's how this lake is formed. This natural system works like a sponge. The underground karst stores water during the winter and slowly release it through the dry summer months, maintaining year-round water flow. It's crucial to emphasize this sponge effect, as it represents the main point of argument between hydropower sector and those of us advocating for the wetlands restoration. The hydropower system captures winter flood waters, preventing them from replenishing the underground. It stores and uses the water, then as a mitigation measure releases some of it in the underground during the summer droughts. Unfortunately, long-term monitoring shows that this doesn't work. If the underground, so the our point in here, that if the underground doesn't receive water in winter, the springs dry up in the summer. So you cannot use the logic that you will collect water during a winter, and then you will release that water during the summer in order to get them on the springs, because that water would disappear in a underground, because underground needs to be fed with water during the winter in order to release that water during the summer. This slide shows the natural state of Hutovo Blato. So this is basically our starting point. And the next slide shows the current condition in Hutovo Blato. We can divide Hutovo Blato in three areas, three depressions, which is on a left side is Vishichi depression, then on a southeast side it's Svitava, and the northwest side is this Derane area. Basically, it's Hutovo Blato is located in delta of River Neretva, and this Derane area, this area that can only be restored, represents only 10% of wetlands of delta of River Neretva. Therefore, we advocate to save the last 10% of the delta river Neretva delta that can be basically saved. So our current approach to managing Hutovo Blato has led to the grim reality that if we continue as we are, by 2050, there will be no more wetlands, neither in Neretva Delta nor in Hutovo Blato. So we predict that with this rate of losing wetland, everything will be lost in the next 35 years. And in order to support this, look at the water gauge on the right. This is today's state of this area, and it shows the sediment up to 60 centimeters. Reviewing historical hydrological records, we found that before the hydropower system was built, which is basically finalized in 1979, the lowest water level ever recorded here was on September 19th, 1974, when it measured 13 centimeters of water. Now, under similar extreme conditions, we have 60 centimeters of a dry land, so no water at all. Long-term monitoring has shown that Hutovo Blato, specifically the Derane depression, has lost 50% of its summer's water. This has also been accompanied by a marked decline in a bird population of Hutovo Blato, which is also shown on this slide. And the last slide is this one, confirming or presenting our efforts to restore wetlands of Hutovo Blato in the last 15 years. Basically, we confirmed that these findings as early as 2009, and they became the alarm call that restoration work was urgently needed. We defined ecologically acceptable flows, which require compensating for missing 5 cubic meters per second by imitating the natural water regime, specifically releasing water into sinkholes. It is also essential to adjust water releases from Čapljina hydropower station to meet the ecological needs of wetlands revitalization in Hutovo Blato, for which we already have concrete technical solutions. We summarized years of monitoring and research into restoration plan developed back in 10 years ago, 2014, which was even accepted first in 2014, accepted by and endorsed by Federal Ministry of Environment. This led to us to start the process to incorporate restoration measures into the environmental permit for Čapljina pumping hydropower station. However, in 2021, the ministry issued the environmental permit without including single mitigation measure for destructive impacts of hydropower plants on Hutovo Blato ecosystem. In the end, the ministry allowed the plant to operate with the same approach as it had back in 1979. Despite this, we managed to secure support for our restoration effort through some projects, and I just mentioned in here two because I participated in them. But as well as we have with us today the director of the park, Dr. Irena Rozic, so she can add to this maybe some other projects that contribute to the park restoration. But I would mention in here Merlin project, which is a Horizon project, which help us to restore several important channels in Hutovo Blato, allowing water to circulate through streams that hadn't flowed in 40 years. As well as recently we accomplished the project of desalting some of the key points in the park thanks to Open Rivers program. Yeah, that would be all from me now. I try to be as short as possible.
Thank you for the presentation, Zoran. Let's see. I think the best thing is to start maybe if Richard, do you have any reaction on the presentation itself? And then we can maybe move to the questions more from the side of the participants.
Yeah, thank you, Polly. And also thank you, Zoran, for the very good presentation, giving in such a short span of time a quite comprehensive overview of the issue your location is facing. So yeah, I must be honest, I'm more informed about coastlines than on karstlands, but this is also a very good example, I think, where there are different stakeholders whose values are not aligned in one way or another. So I was wondering, just in general, are there, besides from the wetland itself, other people affected by the hydropower plants, by hydropower plant reservoirs and the lack of fresh water during summer?
Yeah, I mean the most affected area is Hutovo Blato Nature Park, but as well as for example, farmers in on a left bank of Neretva Delta in Croatia as well. So that there are also impacts on also farming of oysters in Mali Stone Bay, which is on Adriatic Sea, and this Dubrovnik hinterland. So it has effects on Croatian Adriatic coast and some coastal activities there that would require fresh water. I mean, in order to grow oysters, you need brackish water rather than no. I'm not from agricultural sector, so I cannot talk about this. But basically, 4 billion of meter cubics of water in this area annually has been prevented to reach the ground. So it's a huge amount of water, meaning that this is a karst is a, especially this part of the Nari karst is a very sensitive area, and with a unique ecosystem and the life that is going in the ground, and this is quietly effective. So we talking about biodiversity as well. So agriculture and biodiversity is affected.
Thank you. And maybe also as a follow-up question, like could you, because of course these lands are very important for local biodiversity. Is there a way that you could, for example, say that the ecosystem services that this wetland provides also downstream for the other farmers? Could you, let's say, say that they could, let's say, work together to see the value of this wetland not only for the inherent biodiversity values, but put us forward a stronger case that that all these stakeholders can support each other to restore this wetland?
Yeah, I mean the benefits, social benefits and financial benefits from electricity production are huge, and you cannot compete with these. And our main arguments is that that no one is supposed to build a fortune on preventing others to thrive as well. So because there is enough for any sector and anyone. So basically, we require respecting environmental flows and introducing these mitigation measures in operation of hydropower sector. So not hydropower sector to stop producing. And wetlands, and in our specific case, Hutovo Blato, today play a crucial role, I would say, in increasing climate change resilience. And we recently calculated capacities for carbon sequestration in Hutovo Blato, and these carbon sequestration capacities are huge. And especially with restoration, we can make this famous additionality carbon sequestration in Hutovo Blato, and now with the prices of 70 euro per ton of CO2 at the market, I think this is a great opportunity to finally have these ecosystem services and payments for ecosystem services functioning there. Unfortunately, the financial gains from electricity production are immediate. So it's so obvious. While these climate change effects are, in a long run and not so obvious.
Yeah, there's also well, in the West Coast project, where I'm also a postdoc in, there is also a pilot study with the Apor Delta, which is very famous for, let's say, also the lack of sediment reaching the outside delta as a result of damming in the past, and effectively they are now thinking about trying to change the management of those reservoirs to allow more sediment to reach the coastline, as they think that's the only long-term solution. But that only has become, let's say, a realistic possibility, at least to explore because downstream damages have been and because they anticipate a lot of downstream damages to the agriculture there. So even though the main purpose would be to restore wetlands, the additionality of other gains proved to be an enabler to look at, say, for wider wetland restoration efforts. So I'm maybe for Hutovo Blato, is there also, let's say, this additionality where you can see that you have other stakeholders you could find common cause with to strengthen the case for these wetlands to be restored, despite advantages of hydroelectric, economic gains.
Yeah, I mean, just to make clear that there are no bad guys or
No.
good guys in here. I mean, for example, these hydropower operators, they pay a lot of money of their profits to different state level bodies, to cantonal government, to federal government, based on land use, based on water use, whatsoever. But then these governmental bodies, they have also fantastic excuses not to reinvest this in Hutovo Blato, because they are facing with the crisis in I don't know, in health system or whatsoever. So basically, the system is not favorable for nature conservation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So it's not to point out to hydropower sector or to, I don't know, to government whatsoever. We live in such an environment. I mean, social and legislation environment that that we are not at the top of priorities, even though we advocate to become one, because climate change is really obvious, and if we don't do something about this, but this argument is not quite strong, especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina, because the excuse would always be we are developing country, and it's not up to us to impact climate change, but China or United States or whoever should do this first. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah.
I'm muted, sorry, I just realized. Thank you for your question, Richard, and for the discussion that I think is starting. Feel free to jump in again, of course. I'm just going to link to a comment that I see now in the chat. So I see a comment from Hakan. So I don't think he's going to be able to say a lot today, because he's referring to an expert from the region that is not joining the webinar today. But it could be interesting maybe that you connect later, because I see there's reference here to the like in this region in Turkey, I believe. Yes, there's one of the biggest dam from the region, and then hydropower dams. So then maybe you can have a bit of a discussion on how the two experiences are going in the different locations. So that's maybe something to connect on later. I see you raise your hand, Hakan. Feel free to jump in.
Perhaps to avoid the misunderstanding, this is in our region, Şanlıurfa. This is the third biggest dam, but I do not have specific information about this the water resources and this subject. So therefore, I am responsible for this for the region, but I cannot give detailed information. But this is in our region, so we can provide information if needed.
Yeah, that could be nice to follow up later on, maybe with each other. Are there any other questions, first directly on the presentation, or maybe some of the points that have just been touched upon from others? Either in the chat, or just feel free to turn on your microphone and share your questions. going to give some time in case someone is typing. Otherwise, we do have some points of discussion that we can start working on, but maybe there are some immediate questions first.
I have a quick question actually. Zoran, I was wondering, I didn't really understand. So the hydropower problem is that they said that they would kind of like increase the amount of energy that they would make, and they didn't provide any mitigation towards the damage that they would do in Hutovo Blato. My question was, did this already happen, and do you already see some impacts on kind of water levels in the biodiversity? So this happened in like, I don't remember the years that you put in, like 2014 or something, or?
I mean, there are some, for example, concretely talking about this upgrading the hydropower system or this Upper Horizons project. They basically hydropower operators and investors in hydropower, they claim that they would provide certain mitigation measures, but these mitigation measures are not far from being good enough, and there is no cooperation between environmentalists and these hydropower operators. It's also quite politically sensitive because Bosnia and Herzegovina is divided in two main entities. One is Republika Srpska, the other one is a federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this project, Upper Horizons project, is happening in Republika Srpska with the impacts on Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Also, there is a third political entity, which is Croatia, and Croatia is a EU member state. So basically, these waters are shared between these three entities, and with the only declarative cooperation, but in a practice, no, everybody is. The thing in maybe the key problem in this specific case, our specific case, is that this is a hydropower. This hydropower system is envisaged to be one united system, meaning it was developed in Yugoslavia when it was one country, and it was meant to be run by, through one center.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, Yugoslavia broke apart, and now you have two countries there, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. But in Bosnia and Herzegovina, you have these two competing entities, Republika Srpska and the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So now you have some system that is envisaged to be one. Now you have three parts, basically, and each part is advocating for itself. And on top of this, this system envisaged no any mitigation measures or no any consideration, environmental considerations. So now we are trying to have these mitigation measures incorporated in a hydropower operations, and now we need to talk with the three different entities, with a different all of them with a different strategy. So this is a this area is ecologically very sensitive. Water regime is a very complex. Plus, on top of this, we have this political sensitivity as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's really like a combination of, yeah, there is a water management component and the nature conservation component, but there's really a very strong governance component, and indeed like having a lot of different entities trying to work together, let's say. Is there maybe anybody from the participants that has like a similar experience from their own region? So It could be like collaboration or lack of between different entities regarding maybe water bodies that like cross different countries, but it can also be at the smaller scale where it's like maybe just different municipalities or different regions that even have to work together. Are there any similar experiences maybe from the participants? Everybody shy today. If not, I think, Sylvia, we can try and share the mirror boards maybe here on the screen. We had also prepared a couple of questions that we can use for the discussion that become a little bit broader than just the case we were discussing now, but that can still be relevant. Yeah, let's see. Let's see, I think the second one, in a way, we have a little bit covered before with the questions that we got from Richard, so maybe the first one. Yeah, here we had the example of peatland rewetting in the question that we had, but then we discussed more of a, like this is more of a karstic environment, of course, and wetlands, but maybe it would be useful to hear if there are any other regions participating today where you also have experience with dealing with wetlands and what it means to preserve them, or in this, like in a case similar to this one, more like restoring them. So feel free to open your mic, or maybe I will give like a couple of minutes so you can actually bring your thoughts together, and feel free to also just share your comments in the chat or open your mic, raise your hand. Just trying to give you a couple of minutes so you can actually think about it and write it down. All right, let's see, we start to have some answers, so maybe we can bring it back to this to the discussion here. Oh, let me turn on my video again, showing a good example. Let's see, I see there are quite some comments here. Is there maybe anybody from the comments that I see here that actually wants to maybe share it via the microphone? So it's a bit, because it's very small, I cannot see very well. Maybe Sylvia, you can see it from your own screen and you can read some of the comments. Oh, here you go. So for the first question, I see there's one comment. Let's see. Yeah, so how it would work with the rewetting. And then, let's see, so for now in this specific region, that this conversation has only been started within regional natural parks. So the focus really tends to be more on biodiversity restoration rather than, for example, broader ecosystem services. And there's no link yet made with the opportunities associated to carbon crediting. Yeah, so there is also, of course, as mentioned here, like a discussion on whether we do want to put a price on nature. So how far do you want to go when you're talking about ecosystem services and trying to quantifying them, giving it really a price indeed. So that's definitely an interesting point that doesn't have an easy answer. And then I see another comment where from a location where this was actually done, so really seeing the climate solution side of rewetting, for example, from the point of view of human resources, but then there are key problems that remain related to political willingness and finances. Did the person that write this maybe want to explain a little bit more about the context from which you're writing this? This was this green post-it.
Hello, yes, I wrote that one.
Yes, do you want to share something more about
Yes, well, I'm a part of Zoran's team. We do research in
okay.
collaboration. So I know situation, from inside. And that's my
Yes.
comment from the inside.
Yes. Oh, that's also very helpful. Thank you. That's good to know. Yeah, great. Let's see, can you zoom in a little, or can you zoom out a little bit, Sylvia, just to see if there's anything else on this question specifically? If not, let's move to the next one. So this actually relates a bit to the comment that Richard was given before. So like involving maybe local communities or other like stakeholder groups that might also have a say around, like may have interest related to like safeguarding the ecosystem. well, in this case in Lutovo Blato, but maybe broader also in similar contexts. Let's see. I see a comment here, comment on finding what would be helpful is to find common benefits between stakeholders who may also obtain ecosystem services from the wetland, and maybe they don't know, or they don't know it explicitly. Because then would indeed strengthen the cause for restoration. Oh yeah, and then I see here maybe a little bit different comment, whether in the case of, yeah, this person doesn't know if it's really the case in Lutovo Blato, but in some cases it might be the problem when you relate to private property, right? So maybe landowners not being willing to restore peatlands in this case, for example. Does the person that wrote this want to maybe give a little bit more context, or share whether this is also the case in their region, that they're dealing really with the away private property rights, and how it sometimes competes with nature restoration? Was the yellow post-it? Not sure if the person is still here.
Yes, I'm still here, but I'm not too sure how I could extend on this. It was more a general idea, and I'm not very specialized on this topic, so
okay, no
I won't
problem.
be able to say more.
Yeah, thank you anyways for your contribution. Let's see. I see this because I think the green one in the middle is again from Nicola that just spoke before. But
Also
this
for
one...
me, Ivan,
okay, someone else. Nice.
I'm also the part of Lutovo Blato. I'm also
okay, you're with a big team.
the team
nice.
together. Yes.
Thank you. Well, I see you're a realist with each other.
Yes, together, but I didn't put my name.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
But they're the same group.
Yeah. Well, at least you agree, right?
Thank you.
Also positive. Let's see, Silvia, can you go just to the last question, and then we see whether there were... Oh, wow, there's a lot here. Yeah, and this question was more about what key challenges could there be when trying to convince institutions, industries, different stakeholder groups to support this type of restoration projects. And I see, let's see, of course, there's a lot on budget, right? So profit tends to come first, as we already said, also saw in the presentation, finance, but also political will. Also see some comments around low understanding, so also maybe not realizing how large the problem is and how big the impacts can be if it goes too far, or how maybe all other climate impacts that are being felt relate to the lack of restoration or maintenance, in this case of wetlands. I see here also a comment about the inclusion of local decision makers in planning documents. I don't know if the person that wrote this down can explain it a little bit more, maybe someone from the team, but still helpful to know.
Also part of the team. This is my question.
Can you explain it a little bit more? What do you mean?
But I think that when you have the local government is important to be involved in all documents, especially in this protection area. Because if you have in the sum for a long time period financed for financing or some protection area, it's important to put that restoration is the part of that park in the future, especially for climate change adaptation.
Yeah,
I think in that way that was my
no, that's clear. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's also a good point. Let's see. I see there's someone. Can you go, Silvia, a little bit more to the... I think it's my right. I'm not sure. Yeah, I see laws may not recognize restorations as obligation. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so having at least legal support, if you don't have like the more general support of people recognizing the importance, is of course a next step that can help. And indeed, this relates to also low public pressure, and awareness is also important. Of course, it's two sides of the same coin in some cases. And maybe I see one post-it where I only see half of it. The prop. Silvia, can you zoom out a little bit? Oh. And a little bit to the side. Other side, sorry. The accountability issue, of course. So as long as you have clear responsibilities, then it's also easy to point out to where things are going wrong and why they're going wrong, if they are going wrong. Whereas if you don't know who's responsible for what, it can be very difficult, especially to then take action on the issues that are emerging. So Not sure if this was also from someone from the team. If not, feel free to share a bit more. Let's see. I think we had quite some interesting post-its. I don't know if there's maybe any last questions that someone wants to pose more generally on the presentation, but also on dealing with nature conservation in general and how that relates to climate adaptation. It doesn't have to be a karstic environment like this one, or even a wetland like this one, but I guess some points, some of the challenges may relate no matter what the environment is that you're trying to restore. So are there any questions or comments around this?
Yeah, I would comment. I posted in a chat.
Yes.
So carbon crediting is a great opportunity because it can make peatlands rewetting and wetlands restoration profitable. This would mean that we can attract investors to have a large scale restorations across Europe. But first, we would need to, or not we as this group, but for example at EU level, to have regulated them, to have a market for this, and then money would start coming in, and when money would start coming in, then we would really have great interest for the restoration. So the thing is to make wetlands restoration profitable.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, indeed. And then it can really help as a first step, right? Just to build a bit of confidence also on the importance, which of course there's also a lot of ecosystem services related importance, but if there is also a financial incentive, that can make it a lot easier. Let's see, are there any final questions or comments? If not, I think we might just close a little bit earlier. We still have a couple of slides to close in. While people maybe write in the chat, I wanted to thank again all the presenters and also the experts that joined. Thank you so much. I think it was very interesting to hear about this national park. It's a very maybe specific case, but it's also very relevant, and I think it strongly shows how the water management aspects really strongly can connect with governance aspects. In some cases, maybe in many cases, so it's definitely challenging, but also very interesting, and it's good to see the efforts that you are trying to work on. So I think we had a final slide to close, Sylvia. So maybe if you can change the screen that you're sharing. And of course, if anybody has comments or questions or anything else later on, feel free to, well, you can still add it in the chat for now, and then later you can always go back to the Miro board with the same link that we shared that is going to remain open, and then you can find all the information. So before we let you go, as a final thing, we have a quick feedback survey. I'm going to give you a moment to fill it in. It should have popped up for you in the screen.
Yeah, I'm just checking if it is the case because we had
an issue. I do see it.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else would be weird if it was only me, but I can see it.
There's just a few questions.
I also see it, but if we can get a confirmation from anyone that's actually filling it in.
Yeah, I see Jan say yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
There's just a few questions, mainly to understand if this new format of the innovation practice groups are working from your perspective, if you did enjoy the conversation of today. Most of the questions are just like you have to select the option. So it shouldn't take like that much to fill it in. And at the same time, if one of you have an idea of a topic that would like to present in the next IPG session, please feel free to reach out to us and to mention this in the form as well. And I see that someone has tried.
One last question for Zoran while people are filling this in, if that's okay.
Blanca.
I was wondering, because I think that Bosnia and Herzegovina is like an exporter of energy. I think it exports like a quarter of electricity or something. So I was just wondering considering like that's quite a specific case, and then even with that, there is higher arguments to invest into hydropower instead of biodiversity conservation, and also kind of what do people that live around Hutovo Blato think, because I also know in Bosnia, for example, in Kruščica, there was a huge resistance against hydropower dams, and just in the context of the Balkans, where are the last kind of wild rivers in Europe, I think that does give a strong case to like turn towards biodiversity. So just wondering of what do people who live around this ecosystem think? And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's the question. We are facing with a great problem, having hydropower as having privileges as the renewable energy. And so when Bosnia and Herzegovina export energy to EU, it is they claim they export green energy, which is coming from hydropower. But in a specific case of Hutovo Blato, and there are some other cases as well, this energy is actually indirectly, not directly, but indirectly produces greenhouse gases emissions, because drying peatlands basically produces a huge amount of greenhouse gases emissions, and that's what they do with the drying these wetlands. So the fight basically that we have fought at the EU level is to exclude hydropower, especially this type of hydropower from renewables, and to exclude them, because they would even have, and that case from Kruščica is also a great case, because there was a small hydropower plant, and they even investors in this small hydropower plant, they even claim subsidies for this, and now we have these subsidies basically gone, and they don't have any more incentives to construct hydropower. But this image of hydropower as being green is making a great damage to us, and making our fight to save these wetlands very difficult.
Yes, thank you, Zoran. And I agree that it's so skewed, especially with mini hydropower plants. Like I think there's like 2,000 planned across the Balkans, and that's you put a river in a tube and completely destroy everything, and then it's supposed to be green.
Yeah, exactly. One of the main arguments that we are using is that hydropower is not using water as a fuel, as they want to present it, but hydropower is using a river, and river is not only water.
I like that argument. I'll use it as well. Thank you, Zoran.
Yes, thank you so much. And also thank you for the whole team. It's nice that so many of you participated. And also thank you to all the others participants that listened in. Hopefully this was helpful for you and you learned as much as we also learned about this specific case. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but I see the screen very much zoomed in, Silvia. So I can only see part of the slide actually.
Because I'm sharing the screen normally as it was before, and I had the feeling that probably it's you, Valeria, because you had the same issue with Zoom when I was with Miro when I was sharing it.
I see it normally, so I think.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's me. No problem. Then
okay.
I go by memory. Yeah. No, the only thing we wanted to point it out with this last slide is that this, of course, this is I think the second session of this IPGs week, but there's many more. So if you want to participate to any other of the sessions in the next days, you can still register. It's going to be the same setup as this one, but of course around different topics, just as last time. And I think when you register, you can also find more information about the specific presentation that there will be at the individual IPGs. So hope to see many of you in other sessions. And of course, there is going to be a third IPG week of the date of which will be announced after the end of this week. But you will hear more about that later on, but just know that it's coming. There's a third one. Don't know if there's anything else I should add, Silvia. Otherwise, I think we are good for today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the IPG week.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and
Thank
see
you.
you
See you
tomorrow.
next session.
Yes.
you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.